are going to look at it. So foul there on Indiana, on hold there. But then that is a technical.
That is a technical. Dead ball, contact technical.
It's a little surprising to see so many of these happen in one game because...
Look, the Indiana Fever walked into Minnesota against the Lynx already so short-handed. Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, Chloe Bibby, Sydney Colson, and Erie McDonald. All 5 of them were sidelined. And get this, Odyssey Sims literally limped onto the floor just to give them any kind of chance. But here's the thing, the refs delivered the biggest gut punch of the night. Lexie Hall took a brutal elbow to the face from Kayla McBride, and somehow they called the foul on Hall. Caitlin Clark was absolutely furious, and honestly, who could blame her? It's like, how does this keep happening? If you thought the injuries were bad, just wait until you hear how the officiating seems to be stacking the deck against this team's playoff hopes. It makes you wonder, do you think the referees are out to get the Fever?
Every time a game happens in the WNBA, somebody's getting abused, somebody getting beaten, somebody is getting hurt, man. Somebody is getting hurt every game in the WNBA, and they just fail to realize this, fail to have any protocols on stopping the nonsense, man. My goodness.
Seriously, imagine showing up to play one of the league's toughest teams and more than half your roster isn't even available. That's not me exaggerating, that's exactly what Indiana was up against. Caitlin Clark has been out with a groin injury for over a month now. Sophie Cunningham is done for the season with an MCL tear. Chloe Bibby is dealing with a knee issue. Sydney Colson's out for the season with a torn ACL. And Erie McDonald also finished for the season with a right foot injury. That's 5 major players gone. Odyssey Sims, who's basically the backup to the backup to the backup and on a hardship contract, wasn't even close to 100%. But with the team so incredibly thin, she still had to drag herself onto the court. Just hearing that list of names is tiring, right? So picture trying to compete in a professional game with that many holes in your lineup.
The Indiana Fever's injury bug is getting into spooky territory. It seems like there's a new player every single day that's getting injured. Right now they have Caitlin Clark out, not sure if she will be returning this season. Sid Colson out with a season-ending ACL tear. Erie McDonald out with a season-ending fracture in her foot. Sophie Cunningham out with a season-ending MCL tear. And then just today, before the game, they announced that Chloe Bibby would be out with a knee injury, and basically they just said it's soreness and they're just playing it safe.
And get this avalanche of injuries didn't just take away superstar players. It completely shattered Indiana's rotation structure. Their entire wing and guard depth just vanished overnight. That left players like Lexie Hall and Kelsey Mitchell shouldering an absolutely impossible load. Just 2 nights ago, also against Minnesota, Hall was actually forced to play a career-high 37 minutes and drop 23 points. Why? Because there was literally no one else to fill that spot. That's not some luxury performance, it's pure necessity. When you're constantly relying on players to give you more than they ever have before, honestly, every single possession feels like a mountain you have to climb. And don't get me wrong, Hall can totally put up those numbers on any given night, but to ask every starter to play heavy minutes just because there's no one left on the bench, that's a huge ask.
Lex, did you come into tonight kind of expecting to play darn near the whole game just with the injury situation and the personnel available?
Damn, you played 37 minutes.
I mean, you played a lot too, Kels. What did you play? 35. I mean, yeah, we're down people, so gotta suck it up, play a little tired a few minutes, and take in those timeouts as best we can. But yeah, I mean, we're down people, so everyone's got to do a little more.
So the team's only real fixes have been these hardship contracts, basically just bodies signed on the fly to keep them afloat. Shea Petty had barely even unpacked her bags before she was thrown right into the rotation. Odyssey Sims, who was already battling her own injuries, was somehow expected to learn the whole team's system instantly, and Ariel Powers was another late addition, immediately playing major minutes without any chance to build real chemistry with her new teammates. All 3 of them were handed crucial roles. I mean, no time to prepare, no rhythm, nothing built up, and they were just forced right into the fire. It's really hard to explain how brutal that is for a team's cohesion. It basically creates a group of players trying to build chemistry in real time, while their opponents are just exploiting every single weakness they have.
We've had
3 players in the last, I don't know how many days. And 2 of those players are point guards. So not really. But, you know, at the same time, our ability to make plays out of what we have, right? I think a lot of our spacing allows players to do what they do best, creates opportunities for them to be successful. And then it's just making the right reads and finding the right pass, you know, on time, on target. And some of that is with experience with your teammates, and some of that is instinct. And so we are trying to do as much as we can to put players in position to use those instincts.
What's more, even head coach Stephanie White admitted that the physicality Indiana faced was just different than what they could handle with this shorthanded roster. And different is really putting it gently, right? Every single drive, every didn't stand, it required maximum energy from a lineup that had paper-thin depth. But still, Kelsey Mitchell did absolutely everything she could to drag the Fever into contention. She dropped 26 points, she fought through traps and relentless defense, and honestly, there were stretches where she looked like she might single-handedly keep the Fever alive. That's superstar level performing. But when the rest of your offensive rhythm is basically stitched together with players who just signed because of all these injuries, there's definitely a limit to how far one player can really take you.
At this rate, the Fever are going to end the season with a completely different team than what they started the season with. And even the players that they're bringing in on hardship or that they're signing midway through the season, they're now going down with injuries. The season from hell would be an understatement on this team right now.
Honestly, this loss wasn't about a lack of effort at all. It was about pure survival. The Fever played with serious grit even in the middle of a nightmare scenario, refusing to fold despite being outmanned on every single front. And yet, as tough as all that sounds, the injuries weren't even the most damaging factor of the night. The referees, well, they decided to make sure of that.
Here's Mitchell. I think that's a 2. Doesn't go. And now it's McBride getting Hull. Yeah, that one might be a problem. Indiana just taking shots to the face.
So what's crazy is, what happens when even the referees become part of the problem? That's the absolute reality Indiana had to deal with. Lexie Hull, who was already stretched thin playing huge minutes, was battling hard on defense when Kayla McBride swung through. Instead of it being a clean play, Hull caught a sharp elbow straight to the face. She went down hard, grabbing at her face, and honestly, anyone watching assumed the call was obvious. I mean, this was textbook flagrant contact. But instead of penalizing McBride, the officials somehow turned the whistle against Hull. The very same player who took the elbow was punished as if she had caused it herself. That decision left the entire arena buzzing in shock.
And Hull is checking her jaw. Let's see that one again. Kayla McBride goes up, grabs the board, and she wants to get free because Hull has her kind of wrapped. And boy, that's a hard swing. They're going to review it.
And get this, fans and analysts were totally expecting a review to clear everything up, but the replay process actually just made the whole situation even worse. After looking at the slow motion, the officials only upgraded the foul slightly. They totally stopped short of holding McBride fully responsible. It was almost like they acknowledged that something wrong happened, but they still completely refused to give accountability where it clearly belonged. Hull had visible contact to the face, went to the ground in obvious pain, and Indiana was still the team punished in that exchange. Seriously, how do you even begin to justify that?
Boom! Right there. Oh my goodness. Boom. Right in the face, man. Right in the face. Now, like I stated, I get it. You might be mad that Lexie put her hand on your forehead. But fam, there is no reason for you to be throwing elbows to somebody's face like that. Come on, man. Throwing elbows to the face.
Look, across social media, Fever fans absolutely erupted with frustration. It made everyone wonder, was this just a one-off mistake? Or is this now a pattern of Indiana just being treated differently by the referees? Because time and time again, when a Fever player takes a hard shot, whether it's a shove, a body blow, or in this case, that brutal elbow, the call rarely goes in their favor. It's really building this perception that the league is somehow fine letting opponents turn up the physical targeting. As long as the team in blue and red is on the receiving end. And honestly, players already dropping like flies from injuries only fuels that anger even more. If you're already down half your roster, the absolute last thing you can afford is the officials helping to pile on.
Caleb McBride, 13 points for Caleb McBride. Hit Lexie Hull with an elbow. Foul on Lexie Hull. Hits Lexie Hull with an elbow, foul on Lexie Hull. I don't understand.
The thing is, Minnesota definitely leaned into physical play all night, and look, that style isn't illegal by itself. Plenty of teams use physicality to their advantage, but the real issue came when Indiana's attempts to battle back just weren't given the same whistle. Stephanie White, the head coach, has even hinted that the game was called differently. That's a pretty subtle way of pointing out that her team wasn't being treated on the same scale as their opponent. Anyone watching, honestly, could see the difference. Drives by Fever guards were just swallowed without fouls, but a tiny bump on the other end immediately drew a whistle. And with every single inconsistency, that simmering frustration from both fans and players only got louder and louder.
This was intentional. Now, if it wasn't intentional, okay, give it a flagrant one. I understand it. She wasn't trying to do it. Cool. But this was intentional. All right? She had malice on the heart with this one. Bad intentions. Okay? She was trying to wreck some stuff up there doing this one. Hey, let's just keep it a grand, man. Let's just keep it a grand. Caleb McBride was trying to knock Lexie right on her booty cheeks, but she succeeded at, fam. Knocked her clean out. Look at this.
This wasn't just...
So it wasn't just a missed call, you know? It symbolized something much, much larger. To Indiana, it really looked like confirmation that the system itself was tilted, that officiating bias was more than just an accident. It was like a barrier they had to play against every single night. And yet, instead of just giving in to all that injustice, the short-handed Fever actually dug in and kept fighting. They leaned on some really unlikely heroes to keep that game alive.
Knocked her clean out, man. Oh my goodness. I mean, folded. Look at how her legs are folded right here. Come on, man. Knocking her clean out right here. That was bad intentions, dog. That was bad intentions. I don't care what anybody say, man. That was bad intentions, man. And the refs have to do something about it. You have to make sure that players don't feel comfortable getting out of pocket and doing things like this.
And you'd totally expect a team missing so many key players to just fold early, right? But that's absolutely not what Indiana did. Instead of collapsing under the weight of all those injuries and bad officiating, they pushed back with everything they had. Kelsey Mitchell, once again, carried the scoring load. She put up 26 points, answering every single Minnesota run until she literally just ran out of gas. She was the absolute offensive lifeline in a game where every possession truly mattered. Without her creating those shots, this would have turned ugly so fast, but she just refused to let that happen. Her ability to stay aggressive and keep attacking the rim, even when the whistles weren't on her side, really set the tone for the fight that followed.
Indiana started this game 9 of 13, but has missed 4 straight until Shea Petty.
And then there was the real surprise, Shea Petty. She had barely even arrived in Indiana before she was asked to deliver major minutes. You'd totally expect a Hardship signing to take a back seat, right? But Petty dropped 16 points off the bench like she had been part of the system all year. Coming in cold with no rhythm and absolutely no built-in chemistry, and still stepping into such an essential offensive role, that showed exactly how much the Fever needed every single ounce of contribution. For a player essentially signed as an emergency option, she really looked like someone who belonged out there.
Reaction looked like it was a lot more violent than that. It still got to hurt, though. The pass from Williams. Oh, Collier is blocked.
Meanwhile, Aaliyah Boston completely held down the other side of the floor. Even while she was getting doubled, bumped, and bodied all night, she stayed super active defensively and absolutely refused to let the Lynx dominate the paint. Her effort on the boards was constant, giving Indiana those crucial second chances and really grounding a defense that was stretched so thin everywhere else. Boston didn't have to put up wild scoring numbers to make an impact. Her composure and toughness were a total anchor for them, and that kind of steadiness is just crucial for a team piecing itself together with all these short-term replacements. Everyone also noticed what Lexie Hull had done the game before, right? Dropping 23 points in 37 minutes might not sound like a season-changing performance, but when it comes from a player who isn't normally leaned on for that volume, it matters in a huge way. Hull's willingness to embrace a larger role in the middle of all this chaos really gave Indiana a chance to breathe. Add in Aerial Powers, another late roster addition forced into meaningful minutes after Cunningham's injury, and you really start to see how every single piece was stretched beyond its normal weight just to keep this team moving.
Dribble. Carrington got a piece of it. Powers gets it back. Second attempt. Up and in. And she's fouled. The basket. And then she's just fighting and battling for her shot.
So that's why fans literally can't stop imagining what happens when this group finally gets Caitlin Clark back. I mean, if a short-handed roster with all these emergency signings can push playoff teams to the limit, what could a healthy backcourt possibly mean? The answer just feels obvious, right? Right now, Indiana has slipped to 8th in the standings, holding on by a thread with every single game carrying playoff-level importance. Their spirit absolutely refuses to die, but everyone knows there's really one player who can truly change their future, and that's why all the attention shifts to the biggest question out there. When does Caitlin Clark return?
Sophia! Get him, Sophie!
And get this, there's only one person who can really pull the fever out of this disaster, and fans just saw her back on the practice court. Caitlin Clark actually showed up in Minnesota, not cleared to play yet, but finally moving with her teammates again. That sight alone completely shifted the energy around this team, you know? After weeks of just watching from the sidelines, even her walking into shoot-around gave everyone a sense that a turning point might finally be coming. For a group that's been battered by injuries and inconsistent play, seeing her suited up with the team again was truly like a lifeline.
This team needs Caitlin Clark to come back in the worst way. Not only if they want to save this, if they want to even play in mid to late September. This isn't a playoff team, what we're watching right now. This isn't a playoff team. This is a Kelsey Mitchell, please save us team. Kelsey Mitchell, we need 40 and 10. 40 points, 10 assists from you every night to be in the playoffs. We need a Herculean effort in the second half. We need Lexie Hull catching fire late in the fourth quarter and in overtime for this team to continue to stay in the playoffs.
Her return can't. The thing is, the tournament can't come soon enough because the Fever are really clinging to that 8th seed. They're 19 wins and 18 losses after that Minnesota game. That's just a 1-game cushion on the Sparks, and there are only 7 games left to play. And get this, the next stretch is absolutely brutal. Seattle, Golden State, Chicago, and Los Angeles are all on the calendar. None of those games are going to give Indiana any breathing room at all, and every single defeat risks them dropping out of the playoff picture entirely. That's the level of desperation right now. The Fever simply do not have time to wait around.
We got our best indication yet that Caitlin Clark is on her way back toward a return for the Indiana Fever. That's because she was seen participating in shoot-around before the Minnesota Lynx game. Now, that doesn't mean she's playing. She's still out for that game, and she hasn't returned to full practice yet, but she is back on the court with her teammates. This coming on the heels of Stephanie White saying she hopes that Clark would return to the lineup before the regular season is out, and that when you see her participating in practice, you will know she's on the way back.
And this is why the team's struggles without Clark have been so clear. There's just no one orchestrating the offense. No one who naturally pulls defenders and really opens up the floor. Kelsey Mitchell can score in bunches, and Aaliyah Boston can anchor the paint, but they're not true floor general. When Clark is out, honestly, every possession just feels disconnected, like pieces are moving without a clear plan. That's why these hardship signings, as solid as they've been, can only go so far. They've given energy, but they simply can't replace that organizing force that Clark brings, and fans definitely know it. Every single clip of Clark shooting in warm-ups gets picked apart on social media. Every dribble in practice is slowed down, analyzed, and shared. Even the smallest details, her footwork, her speed, her body language, they all become headline material because people are so desperate for any sign that she'll be cleared to play again. It's not just excitement, it's pure anxiety because everyone feels the playoff math tightening. Indiana sits barely ahead of Los Angeles, and without Clark, that gap could disappear in a week.
You know, so you see Caitlin Clark, this video captured by Chloe Peterson at Shoot Around. You can see Caitlin doing some work right there, just, you know, warm-up work, back and forth on the court, but nonetheless on a basketball court. It's been a long time since we've seen Caitlin Clark on a basketball court. Certainly a long time since we've seen Caitlin Clark play basketball. Then there was a little bit more footage here, and you see Caitlin involved on the floor yet again, even handling the ball, working with her teammates. I mean, that's an important sign there to see her working with her.
The thing about Clark is she offers so much more than just points. She has this amazing ability to elevate both Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell by creating easier opportunities for them. She slows down all the chaos and makes Indiana look like an actual playoff level team again. No hardship signing, no patchwork lineup can actually do that. That's why her comeback represents so much more than just another injured player returning. It's truly the difference between this group playing postseason basketball or just watching from home. The hope is rising, the fans are restless, and everyone knows exactly what hangs in the balance. But here's the real question. Can one player, even Caitlin Clark, overcome everything that's working against this team? The Fever are stuck playing two battles at once. They've got every opponent on the schedule, and then there are the constant blows from injuries and those questionable whistles. That combination doesn't just wear a team down physically, it pushes their mental toughness right to the limit. You can literally see it in their body language after certain calls, and you can definitely feel it in the fan frustration boiling over online. So the big question lingers, can Caitlin Clark's return be enough to lift this group past all the injuries and officiating bias? Whatever happens, the fight Indiana has shown will absolutely be remembered, especially if this resilience somehow carries them into the postseason. So what do you think? Are the referees actually out to get the Fever?